property to a certain extent. Are you worried that at some point this kind of idea may evolve into more of a problem where individuals will begin to want to have more of a say so over the economy than the state as a whole?
According with the statistics, nowadays less young people are leaving Cuba because now they have a way to earn more money here in Cuba, and they have a different perspective than maybe 6 or 7 years ago. You know, most of the people that leave Cuba because of economic reasons, not because of political reasons. That's why when they went to any other country, let's say the United States, they stay there, and at the end of the year they want to come to Cuba. They visit their family, they want to have some pork, to dance a little bit, to have a beer, and then they go back to the United States where they will live and work. But next year they will come back again. So they are not hostile to the revolution, they have nothing against the revolution. It's because they have a way to solve their economic problems out of Cuba. Nowadays, as I told you, the statistics says that there are more people staying in Cuba. You know, young people. There are less young people leaving Cuba because they think that now they could solve their economic problem here in Cuba, and that they will have less economic problems in Cuba than out of Cuba. That's the idea now. You know, and as far as we improve our economy, and as far as we solve the salaries problem that we have here in Cuba, I think that more people will stay. Of course, some people will go anyway because they have their parents, they have their family there, but that doesn't mean that the whole emigration will be solved. No, there will be always some people, you know. In the United States, how many people leave the country to other countries every year? A lot of them, you know. I think that any country are people leaving the country, you know, to see other things, to try to live better in another place because they have been heard about something that they want to know. So immigration is not going to be eliminated. That will stay. And you know that now the Cuban government are given, you know, first of all, maybe 5 years ago, we have something that's called exit permission. So you have your passport, and then you have your exit, you have to ask for your exit permission to leave the country. Now we avoid the exit permission. You have your passport, you go to any embassy here in Cuba, I mean, the embassy of China, or Canada embassy, US embassy, and you could ask for a visa, and you could live wherever you want. So that's another thing that has been solved, because there has been a lot of propaganda against Cuba, because Cuba does not allow people to live. Now we allow everybody that wishes to live to live.
Can you explain again this whole idea of international trade, why it's important maybe to bring in other trading partners, even if these partners are capitalists? Because people again believe that when you operate with the capitalists, you become a capitalist. So can you explain that nuances to the audience again?
Of course, all our international trade is controlled by the government. So if you want to make an investment here, the government will allow you to make the investment. But the profits that belongs to Cuba from that investment is going to be in the Cuban government community chest. Okay? Okay? And then that's why in international trade is allowed here in Cuba, and every country wishes to make trade with us because we are a very good client. First of all, we pay. Second, we are not, you know, a private company say how many bottles of oil we're going to sell this year. 1 million barrels of oil, because a private company does not control the whole market. But the Cuban government controls the whole market, so we don't need 1 million barrels of oil. We need 20 million barrels of oil. And then we are a very good client. That's why internationally people wishes to make business with us, because they make business in big quantities, not small quantities. And also because we want, and we don't care if people earn money. We think that businessmen has their profit. We understand that. So if you want to sell us something, you have to have your profit. You are not going to sell us in the cost of the production that you have for the thing that you're selling. But we want to have a lower price as possible. That's why the people, our offices that are related with all the buying from Cuba, knows about markets. They are introducing into the international market. We have some kind of aid from other countries that gave us credit. I think that China gave us maybe $2,000 million in credit. So why they gave us $2,000 million in credit? Because they want us to buy those $2,000 million in China. Nobody gives you credit to buy in another place. They give you credit to buy in the place that they're giving you credit. So if China sells rice, if China sells computers, now China sells a lot of things. They sell cars, they sell buses, so we buy it in China. It's the same with the United States, with other countries. When they give you a credit, they want you to buy in the United States. So we are into the international market. We are working in the international market with our money, with credits, and also now we solve the problem with this joint of banks that were in Paris. We have a very old loan with them, and we solved it that we're going to pay every year, and they're going to give us more credit. So Cuba is receiving more and more credit internationally to buy and to make business. I think that's also something that has been improved from 5 or 6 years ago.
Professor, fundamentally speaking, has there really been any fundamental difference between the Barack Obama administration and past administrations in terms of this whole issue of U.S. and Cuban relations, from your perspective?
I think it's very difficult to find a difference between one administration and the other, because the policy of the United States is to continue the same line that has been adopted by the last administration. If they invade Iraq, the next president is not going to take out all the troops from Iraq. Maybe he take out some part of the troops, but there are still people in Iraq. If they are doing some kind of activities against countries like Venezuela, the next president will continue the activities against Venezuela. He's not going to change that. And also this change of Obama toward Cuba is not a change of policy. He doesn't change the objective of the policy. He changed the methods. Sometimes there are some changing in methods, but not changing in the real policy, in the objective that they are going to receive, or they want to receive. The objective in the case of Cuba is to destroy the Cuban Revolution. The method now is different. So I think that when we are talking about some presidents of the United States, you have to refer to history, and you have to analyze that sometimes there has been improvement for the people of the United States. Internal policy maybe has improved. They have less activities of some kind, but sometimes the same. I will tell you, internally in the United States, now there are a lot of people, a lot of killing. Yesterday, I hear that there has been 90 people a month killed by crazy people that has arms in their hands. You know, I think that the government should do something because the people of the citizens of the United States has been loose. You know, but that's something that Obama inherited from all the other presidents that has been there before. You know. And also, when you are talking about people that has very poor people, you know, low people that live below the poverty line, is something also that has been always in the United States. It has been some developed in jobs, maybe, you know, unemployment. I don't trust in the figures of unemployment that are given by the Obama administration. Excuse me. I think that these figures are managed, you know, because then instead of 5.6, I think that it must be maybe a 9.8 or something like that. When you take on account the real people that are not employed in the United States. So you have to figure with that. Now in the election, they start talking in the election and they try to show the people something that maybe the people want, but they are not going to receive with any of the president that could be elected. That's why people doesn't go to vote. And that's why half the population of the United States doesn't bother to go to vote, because they know that they're not going to solve the real problem with the next president. It's the same policy. It will be the same. No changes.
You know, Professor, one of the things, when the people look at the history of Cuba and its relationship to Africans inside the United States and throughout the world, it has a real favorable and great history of being in solidarity with African people inside the United States and outside. From a sociological point of view, from a political point of view, what goes into the thinking and making of those policies when the Cuban people decide to send doctors like to West Africa for AIDS, they decide to send doctors to Haiti to help out. Even when we had Hurricane Katrina, they're willing to bring doctors to the U.S. These kind of histories, these kind of policies are policies that doesn't seem to be at once making one your enemy. Why Cuba has such love for African people inside the United States and out?
Well, you know that now we have established relations with the United States. But before that, there has been contacts between Cuba and the United States trying to solve the problem. I was involved in one of those contacts during Kissinger's era and Ford's. Okay, Kissinger was the State Department, the head of the State Department. There was Gerald Ford as president, and we were talking about different things related with Cuba and the United States. But then Angola asked Cuba to send help to Angola, because if we didn't send help, the South African will take Angola. And the Cuban government sent our troops to Angola. And what happened with our talks? It was finished, because the United States says that if you don't take out the troops from Angola, we're not going to continue talking with you. So we prefer to help the Angolan people than to talk with the United States. So that's an example. But it's a nice example that you could take. If we are, why? Because we feel like the Angolans. We don't have any kind of idea that we are different from the Angolans. We are the same than the Angolans. We have to fight with the Angolans. They fight for liberty like we have been fighting for our liberty here in Cuba. And that's the same when some other country asks us for medical doctors or to try for teachers or for some trainers for their baseball team. You know, we're open on that. You know, precisely with Africa, because we said in Cuba, most of the people have something from Congo or from Carabalí. You know that? Congo was part of the slave that comes to Cuba. The Carabalí was other tribal slave that come to Cuba. And we say that here we have, everybody has something from Congo and from Carabalí. We feel that we are not pure whites. You know? We think that in our blood there is a part of African blood. And that's why we are so solidarity with Africa and with any other country that is fighting for the lead.
We only have a few minutes left, and I would like for you maybe directly speak to the African community in the U.S. in terms of Cuba would love to have them to come and visit them. They are welcome. Because the propaganda back home is that many of us will not be welcome when we come to Cuba. As a Cuban, how do you view the African community if they came to Cuba?
I think that the African community in the United States has a very difficult task because discrimination, because all the things that has passed, you know. First, they were slaves, their grandparents were slaves, then it seemed that they were free, but they were not free. They don't have the right to vote, you know, and there has been a long, long way to eliminate most of the discrimination that suffers the African community in the United States. I think that people like Martin Luther King, that Malcolm X, and others that have been fighting for the African community has done a very nice job. Now, the African community, I think, that is reorganizing himself, you know, with other methods, with other ideas, but you have to fight for the African community because this is still, there are problems that could be solved and that the government has to recognize, you know, those people that are U.S. citizens, like the other one, that has no right to discriminate them and that has no right to forget them, you know. So I think that it's a lot of things that the African community has to do and to unite, you know. According with my idea, maybe I'm wrong, I think that the African community is not united. And it's not united, then there come problems with that cannot be solved. There are a lot of people of the African community in jail. For instance, of course you will know about Mumia, which is in jail in the United States, and also it's people that fight for the African community. And people have to work trying to free Mumia in the United States. And also there are other organizations that I know in New York, you know, about the Black Panthers and things like that, that has to be united. I don't think that they have to take the weapons against the government, but first of all, they have to be united and to follow the idea